I actually didn't even realize that my dad was a narcissist until I was an adult. All I knew growing up was that I didn't want to be around him. He always made me feel like I wasn't good enough. But then the flip side of that is sometimes he would put me on this pedestal and talk me up. Now as an adult looking back, I'm like, oh, it was when it benefited you and made you look good. But I didn't realize that. It wasn't until I was in a romantic relationship and then I got out of it that it started to click for me and I was able to start to understand it and process it and work through it.
Narcissists or anyone with a character disorder, they defeat you. Mm-hmm. You feel defeated. Mm-hmm. And when you have defeat, then you start to lose this motivation to even want to love you or want to love that person anymore. Mm-hmm. Then you feel bad about that you don't like your parent.
Yes.
And you should, because now if you don't like your parent, you're this bad kid.
Yeah. There's so much guilt associated with it. If these people are at the core of themselves, the most insecure people, that starts in childhood, like most things. So what happens in their childhoods that makes them a narcissist?
So some of it could be genetic. Nobody really knows.
Oh, really?
But shame is developed between the ages of 2 and 5.
Okay, yeah.
And if you think about, you've got kids, I've got kids, I've got a child. So 2 and 5, they're getting very independent. They're testing limits and all that stuff. I was definitely shamed. I had very shaming parents, a look of disgust. I didn't need words. It was enough.
Right.
That they call it the narcissistic stare.
Yeah. Oh God, do I know that stare?
Yeah. And you're like, I'm nothing.
Yes.
Just minimize.
They can cut you down with just that
Their
look.
eyes.
Yes.
And like, you asshole.
Yeah.
You're an embarrassment.
Yes.
So you either come out of that stage, which I came out an overcompensating pleaser.
Okay. Right.
A lot of people come out more blaming. Okay, because especially the male ego, not that this doesn't happen in females, but the ego is different. Mm-hmm. And if you were shamed or you had a heavily shaming father, mother during 2 to 5, and you were squelched from your independence or humiliated publicly, yelling at your kids in public, shaming them and things, humiliating somebody only requires an audience of 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. One other person in the room is enough to have an audience. Okay. Because now somebody else knows.
Yeah.
So if you shame, then shame doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But what shame will do as an adult is shame will blame.
Yes.
And if you're blaming, you are not changing.
Yeah. Zero accountability.
Can't
learn from that.
Never wrong.
Yeah. I know it. I know. Because I've had, 2 major narcissistic relationships in my life, the romantic one I was in and then my dad. And I just finally stopped talking in both of those relationships because there was no point. You go around and around and they never see your side because there's no empathy. Empathy is being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and they will never, ever see your side.
No, they also know that you're correct.
Oh, okay. So
they know.
And I've always wondered
that it's an assault to their ego.
Okay. So deep down, they know.
They know.
See, I've wondered about that.
People always ask me, do they know what they're doing?
Yeah.
How could they not know? That's my thing. How could they not know? We would love to believe that people don't know when they're hurting someone else. If you didn't learn at home, you start learning in kindergarten.
Yeah.
What nice and mean is.
Right.
This is not hard. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
This is basic stuff.
Yeah, it's not. We're not genius here.
Yeah.
Don't hit your friends. You know what I'm saying? Don't spit on people.
Right.
They know, but they don't care.
They don't care.
Because what they live for is your attention and your emotional reaction. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Whether it's your parent or whether it's your partner, they live to have that power over you. They're also very performative.
Yeah.
So they love to take baited abuse where they've baited and baited and baited. You finally react. This was my mother. And then she'd call me an abuser.
Right. Yeah, they turned it around. Gaslighting.
I did react.
Yeah.
I did react. If the plane's going down, I'm going to react.
Exactly.
But I had to learn that in therapy.
Yeah.
That was a normal reaction to an abnormal situation.
The gaslighting.
I didn't know any other normal. What was my other normal?
Yeah. Yeah. And projecting too. I've learned too, like with the one in my life, anything that he said or accused me of doing, I'm like, well, you're doing it. I finally realized that the biggest projectors on the planet. You've said with narcissists, there's no way to navigate communication with them because they aren't rational people. They do all they can to deflect the issues off of themselves and onto us. And they do this with such precision that we end up off our point of contention and confused about who we are and if our feelings are valid. I mean, that's just it. That sums it up so perfectly.
They love to take somebody who's really honest, pure to the soul, wants reality,
right?
Wants connection, wants truth, and fuck with you.
Yeah. But see, it's interesting for me to hear you say that you do think that they know what they're doing, because I've always thought like, no, I almost look at them as like, you aren't rational. You are so gone that you don't know what you're doing, but you're saying the core of them. That kind of blows my mind. It makes me think of it differently. If you like
power so much, then you have to be intentional about getting it. If someone is smart enough to gaslight, project, deflect, manipulate, blame, control, be hypocritical, then these people are plenty smart enough to know when they have hurt their victim.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
They know.
I cut my dad out of my life about 2 years ago, which has honestly been the best thing I've ever done. Really and truly, it has. But for someone who hasn't maybe cut someone out of their life, what are some suggestions on how to navigate that relationship? Because trying to set boundaries with a narcissist can make them really angry. So very angry. So what advice do you have for someone who has to still be in a relationship with a narcissist?
To gray rock. Gray rocking is becoming the most boring rock in the pile.
Yes.
So a lot of just, putting the conversation back onto them, saying very little.
Give me an example of putting the conversation back onto them.
So if you are you want kind of low contact with somebody, right? And they're having a conversation and they start to ask you questions. You just are like, oh, yeah, I did that on Tuesday. Well, what did you do the other week? See, narcissists so love to be at the center that if you just deflect back onto the conversation that's them, then they tend to do better. They will catch on to it, though. Yeah. Again, they know what they're doing. If they stop getting your emotions and your negative reactions from you, then they're going to go, you're acting weird.
Yes.
They will push you to stop talking to them.
Yeah.
And then call you the perpetrator.
Exactly.
So be the perpetrator.
Yeah.